Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. We do have some breaking news. Ed Orgeron is out as the LSU head coach. He will be resigning dash fired at the end of this season. Now, this is absolutely huge for LSU football. They had their most successful season of all time under Coach O in 2019, as we remember from the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson led Tigers. That team was one of the most dominant college football teams we had seen in quite some time. And really, the future was looking bright for LSU after that 2019 season. Now, the big issue for this squad heading into 2020, you're going to be having an all new quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They had a lot of guys drafted to that NFL draft. They had a very experienced team, therefore, a lot of them being eligible for the draft. And they had a ton of players selected in that draft class, which really thinned out the roster, unfortunately, for LSU. Yes, they have been consistently over the last couple of years a top 4 recruiting class. However, they just didn't have the experience heading into 2020, which they've seen a tremendous amount of struggles. They were 5-5 in that season. Now, the thing about them, they were very, very pass reliant last season. In that 5-5 year, a lot of people still had pretty good anticipation for how they'd finish. They thought they could very well end up being a top 15 program. That's what they had kind of started in that preseason poll. Even with Miles Brennan being the quarterback instead of Joe Burrow, but a lot has changed since then. Miles Brennan's injury has been unfortunate for the team, but they ended up finding a gem in Max Johnson, the son of Brad Johnson, Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he has played very, very well. Now, the issue over the last 2 years has been the running game. They have not been able to find any consistency since Clyde Edwards-Helaire has left town. Obviously, they've had a lot of in-house guys that they really liked, a lot of local talent as well, but unfortunately, they just haven't been able to run the ball. Part of it is the dismantle of that offensive line for the NFL draft and just, being, just graduating in general. And they just haven't been able to find any consistencies running the football. Now let's fast forward into this season. A little more hopes, right? They had that 5-5 year. A lot of people struggled during that pandemic 2020 season. You really didn't know who was going to be playing on a week-to-week basis. There was so much really going on with college football. There was no guarantee that you were going to play on a given Saturday. Some games were really having to be foregone just because of certain COVID tests. But now you head into 2021, you know what your roster looks like. You're going to be playing every single week and what those protocols are. And they just, once again, have not looked very good. They've been awful running the football, except, now I say except, for this past game where, they just absolutely exploded in the run game, which didn't make any sense for a team that hadn't been able to run the ball. And they just pounded it against Florida. And that's the crazy part of it. They were so efficient running the football, and they end up beating the Florida Gators, which a lot of people did not give them a chance on. I know even in the pick'em, I think about 7% were actually saying LSU in that game. They ended up pulling out the humongous win. They hung 49 on that Florida defense, and this team looked really, really good. They had a couple of errors as well. Definitely could have been a cleaner football game, but it's kind of surprising after a win that this news comes out. Now, is it from LSU saying, we're going to pull the plug on this thing, or is it Coach O saying, I'm done with this whole coach and LSU thing? Maybe he's going to step away from the game for a couple of years. We really don't know. And for this program, where's the next step? I don't know. They have a great recruiting class coming in. They've been able to accumulate talent. There's no question about that. LSU has been a great pipeline for the NFL, therefore attracting a lot of the local kids and, people outside of the area to come to LSU to play football. I think that it's going to be hard to replace what Coach O brought in that 2019 season, but I understand the change. This defense has been awful. Absolutely awful the last 2 years. He hasn't been able to figure it out. He had brought in Bo Pelini to kind of clean that up in the 2020 season, and that was one of the worst LSU defenses that we've ever seen. So heading into 2021, made a lot of staff changes, and that has not worked. The defense is still bad despite having all this premier talent. And unfortunately for them, they've had a lot of injuries. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. If you are new, hit that subscribe button as we are going to continue posting a lot of utility sports content. We do appreciate the support, and we will catch you in our very next video.